Every day, you wake up with two choices. You can rule yourself, or you can be ruled by your weakness. Weakness is not something that appears suddenly. It grows quietly, unnoticed, in the spaces where you give in to comfort, excuses, and delay. It is like a small seed planted in the soil of inaction, watered by fear and hesitation, and over time it becomes a tree that shades your life with doubt, regret, and lost opportunities. Every moment you ignore your weakness, you allow it to strengthen. It begins in simple ways, choosing to avoid responsibility, saying yes to what feels easy instead of what builds you, allowing distraction to take precedence over focus. These moments seem harmless at first. You tell yourself it is just rest, just a small indulgence, just a temporary pause. But every time you prioritize ease over effort, your weakness takes root and expands. It teaches you to accept less than you are capable of achieving, to settle for mediocrity, and to surrender to the immediate rather than the important. It whispers to you in soft tones, promising comfort while secretly preparing you for struggle and failure. Weakness is patient. It does not demand attention, but it does not forgive. It waits until your habits, your mind, and your choices are under its control, and then it strikes with a force you could have resisted had you been vigilant. Discipline, on the other hand, is the antidote. Discipline is not loud, it does not seek praise, it does not appear glamorous. Discipline is simple. It is doing the work when you do not feel like it, choosing the difficult path that leads to growth, refusing to let fear dictate your actions. Discipline is the daily refusal to feed weakness, the constant act of telling yourself, I am in charge, I will not be ruled by this momentary feeling or desire. When you exercise discipline consistently, weakness cannot survive. It cannot grow in a mind that refuses to obey it, just as a tree cannot grow in a field that is constantly tended. Weakness cannot flourish in a life that is governed by deliberate choices, reason, and purposeful action. The first step in killing weakness is awareness. You must observe it without judgment, noticing the areas in your life where you allow delay, avoidance, or fear to dictate your actions. You must name the excuses you give, the comforts you prioritize, and the responsibilities you neglect. Awareness alone is not enough, but without it, you cannot act. The next step is action. Every time you resist a small urge to avoid effort, you weaken the power of your weakness. Each intentional choice, each effort made despite discomfort, each habit formed to align your actions with your values, chips away at the foundation of weakness. Action compounds over time. A single act of resistance may feel insignificant, but repeated daily, it creates a life where weakness no longer has a foothold. You must also understand that weakness will try to deceive you. It will disguise itself as rest, as a justified pause, as a deserved indulgence. It will appear comforting, seductive, and even rational. Your task is to see it clearly, to recognize it for what it is, and to choose growth over comfort every time. Strength is born from this repeated refusal to let weakness dictate your life. Weakness is not your enemy outside of yourself. It is the part of you that surrenders, that avoids, that hides from challenge. The battle is internal, and it is fought in the choices you make each day. Weakness only wins when you permit it to win. When you neglect to take responsibility for your actions, when you fail to act with intention. To kill weakness is to live deliberately, to confront discomfort, to embrace effort, to reject excuses, to act consistently in alignment with what you know you must do, and to refuse to allow any part of yourself to rule your life without question. Comfort and fear are the quiet enemies that creep into every life, unnoticed at first, but powerful enough to shape the course of your days if left unchecked. Comfort is often mistaken for peace, rest, or self-care, but it can easily become a trap when it replaces effort, challenge, and growth. It whispers to you that what you have is enough, that tomorrow can wait, that effort is optional. It asks nothing from you, yet it demands everything over time, because it steals the moments you could use to become stronger, wiser, or more capable. Fear works alongside comfort, often hidden beneath the surface, influencing your choices without your awareness. It shows itself as hesitation, doubt, anxiety, or indecision, and it convinces you that inaction is safer than risk, that staying in the known is better than venturing into the unknown. Comfort and fear are silent, but they are not harmless. They limit you, shape your habits, and direct your life away from what you are capable of achieving. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you reinforce the idea that growth is dangerous and unnecessary. Every time you let fear decide your actions, you hand over your freedom to something outside of reason. These forces work together to make you small, to keep you passive, to teach you to accept less than you deserve. The danger lies in their subtlety. They rarely announce themselves with a loud warning. They do not appear as enemies in bright armor. They appear as quiet suggestions, gentle nudges toward ease and safety. They make you feel justified, responsible, and rational, while quietly eroding your strength. The antidote is awareness and deliberate choice. You must notice the moments when comfort tempts you to avoid effort, and when fear convinces you to delay action. You must name them clearly and recognize their influence over your life. Awareness alone is not enough. It must be accompanied by action. Action is the antidote to fear, and effort is the antidote to comfort. Every time you push yourself to do what is difficult, to face discomfort, to confront the unknown, you weaken their power. Small choices accumulate over time. Waking up early, completing tasks even when you do not feel motivated, speaking your truth despite fear, confronting challenges instead of avoiding them, all these acts slowly build resilience, courage, and mastery over your mind. Strength is born from repeated confrontation with discomfort, from refusing to let fear or comfort dictate your actions. You must learn to see fear and comfort as tests, not excuses. They are opportunities to exercise control, to assert your reason over impulse, to prove to yourself that you are capable of more than hesitation allows. Growth is not found in the absence of difficulty, but in meeting difficulty head-on, in deliberately choosing the path that stretches you, challenges you, and teaches you. The mind that allows comfort and fear to guide its decisions will never reach its potential. The life that surrenders to ease will never be fully lived. You must act, consistently and intentionally, to prevent these quiet enemies from taking root. You must choose the path of effort, of challenge, of courage, even when it is uncomfortable, even when it is frightening, even when it seems easier not to. Each deliberate action in the face of comfort and fear is a step toward mastery. It builds the habit of self-command, the habit of resilience, and the habit of facing life fully. When you train yourself to act despite fear and to work despite comfort, you slowly reclaim your freedom, your power, and your potential. Strength is built through daily choices, not through motivation, and it grows quietly in the repeated actions you take when no one is watching, when no reward is promised, and when it would be easier to give in. Many people wait for motivation to arrive, believing that it will carry them through the work, the effort, and the discomfort. They imagine that on the day they feel inspired, everything will fall into place, and they will achieve what they desire. But motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the wind, unpredictable, unreliable, and outside your control. Strength, on the other hand, is within your control. It is formed in the small decisions you make consistently, in the moments when you act not because you feel like it, but because it is necessary. Every morning that you choose to rise, even if tired or unmotivated, you build strength. Every time you complete a task, face a challenge, or confront your fear, you reinforce your capacity to act despite discomfort. Strength is not born in grand gestures or dramatic victories. It is cultivated in the quiet discipline of showing up, of doing what must be done, of refusing to surrender to what feels easy or pleasant in the moment. Your habits shape your character. The choices you make daily, even seemingly insignificant ones, are the bricks of the foundation on which your strength rests. Choosing to avoid shortcuts, to honor your commitments, to act with integrity even when ignored or unseen, forms the habit of reliability and power over yourself. This is the kind of strength that cannot be taken from you by circumstance, by others' opinions, or by sudden challenges. It is rooted in your own actions and decisions, independent of external conditions. Weakness, in contrast, is formed when you rely on feelings instead of reason. When you wait for motivation, you allow chance to dictate your behavior. When you seek comfort or avoidance, you teach yourself to obey impulse instead of purpose. Over time, this weakness becomes habitual, and it grows until it undermines your life, your goals, and your freedom. To cultivate strength, you must embrace the reality that life will not provide perfect conditions. The perfect moment will never arrive. Motivation will never be guaranteed. the environment will never be entirely supportive. Your ability to act, despite these imperfections, is the measure of true strength. You must train yourself to act through resistance, discomfort, and uncertainty. You must condition your mind and body to respond to principle, not to feeling. Each act of discipline, each moment of resisting temptation, each time you do what is right over what is easy, adds to your inner power. Strength is not only about what you achieve outwardly. It is about mastery over yourself, over your impulses, over the part of you that seeks ease, avoidance, or approval. It is the ability to choose reason over feeling, effort over idleness, and growth over stagnation. This mastery becomes a habit when you act consistently. Over time, it transforms your character, your decisions, and your life. When strength is habitual, you no longer rely on motivation, circumstance, or luck. You move forward because action itself has become part of who you are. You act because you have trained yourself to act, not because the moment feels right. You have built a life where the mind rules over impulse, the body follows discipline, and the spirit refuses to surrender to fleeting emotions. Strength is the silent, enduring power that arises from daily choices, repeated effort, and consistent commitment. And it is available to anyone willing to act, even when it is difficult, even when it is inconvenient, even when it feels uncomfortable. Pain from discipline is short, regret lasts long. This is a truth that many people avoid thinking about, but it defines the quality of your life. When you face a challenge, when you push yourself to do what is difficult, uncomfortable, or demanding, you experience a momentary struggle. You feel resistance in your body, tension in your mind, and a desire to quit. It is not pleasant, it is not easy, it is not effortless, but the struggle is temporary. It lasts only as long as the effort itself. Once the action is completed, once the choice is made, once the task is done, the discomfort fades. You feel a sense of accomplishment, a sense of control, a sense that you have acted according to your values. This is the reward of discipline. Regret, on the other hand, is long. Regret is the pain that lingers, because you did not act. It is the feeling that comes when you look back and realize that you chose comfort over growth, delay over action, fear over courage. Regret does not pass quickly. It stays with you, hidden or overt, in your thoughts, in your emotions, in the opportunities that you will never recover. Every moment you avoid discipline is a moment you teach yourself that inaction is acceptable. Every time you give in to weakness, you reinforce a habit that will create larger problems in the future. The mind does not forget. The body does not forget. The life you build is the sum of the actions you take and the actions you avoid. To choose discipline is to choose control over your life. To choose hesitation, avoidance, or fear is to open the door for future regret. Discipline may feel difficult, but it is designed to serve you. It is the tool that strengthens your will, sharpens your focus, and prepares you for what life will demand of you. Regret, in contrast, is the result of neglecting this tool. Discipline is momentary pain with lasting benefits. Regret is delayed pain with permanent consequences. Understanding this difference is essential for anyone who desires a meaningful, powerful life. It is not enough to know what is right, you must act on it. The choice is always yours: endure the short discomfort of effort, or endure the long discomfort of knowing you did not. Life does not compensate for hesitation. It does not pause for indecision. It does not reward excuses. It responds to action. Every decision to act with discipline is an investment in your future. Every choice to delay, avoid, or surrender to weakness is a debt you will pay in regret. Think of the person you wish to become. Think of the goals you want to achieve, the values you want to embody, the life you wish to live. Each of these requires consistent action. None of them are built on avoidance. None of them are nurtured by ease. They require effort, discomfort, and discipline. The pain you feel in taking the right action is fleeting. The benefits last. The satisfaction, the confidence, the strength, the freedom, all these are the fruits of acting despite discomfort. The pain you avoid by surrendering to weakness grows in time. It becomes heavier, more persistent, and more destructive. Regret is the accumulation of every moment you chose short-term ease over long-term gain. Discipline is the path of deliberate action, the choice to face challenges, to endure resistance, to build habits that serve your growth. Regret is the result of surrendering, of choosing comfort, of failing to act. To live wisely is to choose the pain of discipline over the pain of regret, to accept temporary effort in exchange for lasting strength, freedom, and fulfillment, and to recognize that every moment of resistance now saves you from a lifetime of disappointment later. You cannot control the world. You cannot control people. You cannot control circumstances, the weather, the opinions of others, or the randomness of life. Yet most people spend their energy trying to do exactly that, exhausting themselves in frustration, disappointment, and regret. The truth is simple. Your power lies not outside of you, but within. Your ability to choose your actions, your responses, and your attitude is the one thing that no one can take away. Every challenge, every setback, every moment of difficulty is an opportunity to exercise this power. When you encounter anger, insult, or injustice, you can choose how to respond. You can react with emotion, blame, and frustration, or you can respond with reason, calm, and purpose. When life does not go according to plan, when things break, fail, or disappoint, you can choose to surrender to despair or to act deliberately to repair, adapt, and move forward. This is where mastery begins. You cannot change external events, but you can always change your perspective, your focus, and your effort. The person who understands this is free, even in difficult circumstances. The person who does not becomes a prisoner of circumstance, chained to events, and dependent on the actions and choices of others for their happiness and peace of mind. Every time you attempt to control what is outside your power, you waste energy, create tension, and weaken your resilience. Every time you focus on what is within your control, you strengthen your mind, sharpen your judgment, and prepare yourself for whatever life brings. The essence of control is recognizing this distinction clearly and acting only on what you can influence. Your thoughts, your choices, your effort, your discipline, these are yours to command. The world will challenge you, but it cannot dictate your inner life unless you allow it. The obstacle itself is never the real problem. The real problem is your reaction to it. Your ability to choose wisely, to respond intentionally, to remain steady in the face of difficulty. That is the measure of your strength. People who try to control others, manipulate circumstances, or avoid responsibility for their own actions are living in illusion. They are trapped by expectations they cannot meet and by events they cannot influence. They suffer because they have surrendered their power to what is beyond their reach. Mastery is the opposite. It is acting deliberately on what is yours to act upon. It is building habits, forming character, developing skill, and maintaining self-command. When you focus on your own effort, your own choices, and your own reason, you create a foundation that is unshakable. The storms of life may rage, the opinions of others may fluctuate, and unforeseen events may arise, but your inner strength remains intact because it is built on what you control. The more you practice this, the more freedom you experience. Freedom is not the absence of challenges, it is the ability to meet challenges without being ruled by them. When you master your actions, your mind, and your responses, you are no longer a slave to circumstance. You can endure discomfort, uncertainty, and change without losing composure or direction. You can continue to act with purpose, even when the world around you seems chaotic. The one thing that truly determines your life is not what happens to you, but how you respond to what happens. By focusing on what is within your control and letting go of what is not, you build resilience, wisdom, and strength. This is not a one-time act, it is a continuous practice, a daily commitment to act deliberately, think clearly, and refuse to be led by forces outside your power. When you accept this principle fully, you stop wasting energy on the uncontrollable, and you start building everything that truly matters. You become capable, unshakable, and free. Every time you give in to weakness, you teach it that it is in charge. Every time you allow yourself to procrastinate, to choose comfort over effort, or to surrender to fear, you reinforce the habit of weakness. This habit grows quietly but relentlessly, shaping your thoughts, your actions, and your character. It spreads through your life like a shadow, touching every decision, every interaction, and every opportunity you encounter. You may not notice it immediately, because weakness often appears as something small, harmless, and rational. It convinces you to wait until tomorrow, to rest when you should work, to stay silent when you should speak, to avoid discomfort when growth demands it. Each moment a surrender, each choice to obey impulse instead of reason, plants another seed. Over time, these seeds grow into a forest of limitation, self-doubt, and lost potential. The danger of weakness is that it disguises itself as ease, safety, and reason. It appears as a sensible choice, a justified pause, or a deserved indulgence, but beneath its surface lies control that it gradually exerts over your life. Every time you let it guide you, you lose power over your own destiny. Every time you resist it, you reclaim that power. Resistance is not always dramatic. It is quiet, persistent, and often invisible to the outside world. It is waking up early, even when you do not feel like it. It is doing the work that must be done, even when it is uncomfortable. It is speaking truth when silence would be easier. It is taking responsibility when excuses would be simpler. Each act of resistance strengthens your character, sharpens your mind, and reinforces your control over yourself. Weakness cannot survive consistent, deliberate action. The mind trained to act despite fear, discomfort, and hesitation cannot be ruled by weakness. Habits of discipline, courage, and purpose form a barrier against its influence. It retreats when confronted with persistence, reason, and effort. The key is awareness. You must recognize the moments when weakness presents itself. When it tempts you to delay, avoid, or surrender, you must name it clearly and see it for what it is, an internal force, trying to dominate you. Awareness alone is insufficient, but it is the necessary first step. The next step is action. Every time you choose effort over ease, courage over fear, discipline over indulgence, you weaken the power of weakness in your life. Action compounds. Small, repeated choices build strength. Habits form. Character solidifies. Over time, the mind trained to resist weakness becomes steady, confident, and unshakable. You no longer rely on fleeting motivation, external approval, or favorable conditions. Your power comes from within, from your ability to act according to reason, principle, and purpose. Weakness cannot take root where deliberate, repeated effort has been planted. It may return occasionally disguised as comfort, fear, or justification, but each time you resist, you reinforce your mastery. You train yourself to act instead of surrender, to choose growth instead of stagnation, to pursue excellence instead of settling. Your life becomes a reflection of this internal command, a life shaped not by chance, by circumstance, or by the influence of others, but by your deliberate choices and consistent actions. Teaching weakness that it cannot lead, that it cannot control, is the essence of self-mastery. Every day presents the opportunity to exercise this mastery. Every challenge, every discomfort, every temptation is a chance to practice resistance and build strength. Over time, this practice transforms your mind, your habits, and your life. It turns you into a person who acts with purpose, who refuses to surrender to fleeting impulses, who lives deliberately, and who commands their own destiny, no matter the obstacles, the distractions, or the uncertainties that arise.